Apologies, folks. Apologies, folks. We are getting in now. So, Luca, you passing host rights over to me?
Yeah, sure.
So we will jump right in it. We'll jump right in. Oh, wait, no. Oh, it's on YouTube too, Luke? Luke, we're on YouTube as we're on YouTube as well.
You're on YouTube right now, yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate you.
Yeah, keep it up and running. I'm gonna drive home. Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Set this up. So sorry, it was in a
No, no,
inconvenient spot.
no
But I
problem.
started this.
No,
Okay.
no problem. Thank you. All right, folks. We are here. Apologies for the delay. So we're gonna get started and jump right in. I will pull up the agenda. We'll do some introductions. Um, Give me a moment. Okay. Um, do you guys see the
It's a little small, but yes.
is it no, but are you what did you see a doc or did you see Canva?
I saw what looked like a Word document.
Okay. Go back to it again. Go.
There we go.
Okay. All right. Is it still small?
It's probably just me. Don't worry about
Eyes aren't the same as they used to be.
it.
All right, cool.
There
So
we go.
we're Wednesday. Oops, didn't change that. February 29th. 28th, apologies.
Hey,
And we are at the Community Engagement and Communications meeting. Can we do some introductions? First, I see Fairview Empowerment Group.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Johan Snags. I'm a community member of Greenburgh for the last 10 years, involved in a few initiatives to try to help bring more equity into the Greenburgh community overall, one of them being the Fairview Empowerment Group. My focus is financial security, food justice, education, and energy sustainability. And glad to be here, Jamal. Appreciate the invitation.
Thank you for coming. I see Corey next. Corey, you want to introduce yourself quickly? Okay, we'll move on to Samantha.
Hi there. My children just paused the TV. Hi, Samantha Ives, president of PTA Council and mom of a sixth grader and a third grader.
Okay, I see Kelly next.
Evening, everyone. I'm Kelly Verdina, Interim Director of Technology.
All right, Mr. Jackson.
Greetings, all. Terrence Jackson, Commissioner, Department of Community Resources at the Theodore D. Young Community Center, lifelong resident. I think that's enough for now.
Kelly.
Good evening. My name is Kelly Johnson, and I am a mother of an eighth grader at Woodlands Middle High School.
And then I see an iPhone there.
That's your sister.
Hello, sister. Introduce yourself, please.
Stacey Thomas, just here to support my brother.
Okay. Let's move over to the agenda. Essentially, tonight we just have two things going on. We're going to hear about the district-wide STEAM night from Kelly Bedina. I'm going to do a community conversation on AI, answer some questions, go through a quick presentation, and then we'll go through any news or upcoming events, questions, comments, concerns anyone has. So take it away, Kelly. Do you have anything that you want to share in terms of the screen, or are you just going to communicate?
I'm just going to communicate for now. We are working on a flyer to be sent out. And then I know Miguel is always in charge of kind of sharing the news. So this is verbal, so bear with me. We did a culminating night of coding with STEAM events in December, and it had an amazing turnout of 130 people. So we thought that we would have another STEAM night, and I really hope to blow that number out of the water. This takes place on Wednesday, March 13th. It's from 6 to 7:30 p.m. It is open up to all grades, all ages, all community members. Everybody is welcome. We have the location set as Woodlands. I'm hoping to have it in the Innovation Lab, but if we have a large turnout, we may have to change that location. Some of the activities that we have planned thus far are some robotics, which are Dash and Dot, Ozobots, which were a huge hit during coding, and that was from parents, students, teachers alike. We'll have Pi Day activities from the math department. We're going to have the art department do a art project. Right now they're thinking about art pixels. So we'll see how that goes. Some Codable, which is block coding, and also code.org stations. But we could add to this list in the coming days as well. I can't hear you. I think you're muted.
I was muted. You would think that after all of these years. Was there anything, that you're calling on the community for? Maybe, or any connection to the library? Is this STEAM event connected to the center at all? What are some areas of support you need in making this the best possible event?
I am open to suggestions. I know that we have some teachers that want to include animals from their program, so we really want to engage all learners. So we talked about reaching out to Greenburgh Nature Society, but I am open to suggestions and ideas.
Okay. I've never done a STEAM event.
Question.
Go ahead.
Is this only on a Wednesday? And how frequently is this done or held?
So this is scheduled ahead of time as part of what Kelly Gillen normally schedules for Parent University. Because it has to do with STEAM, I got tagged in. So to be totally honest, it's something that I would like to see happen more often. I think it's really engaging for the students and their parents and community members alike, really gets the out of the box thinking engaged. So I'd like to see it more often, but this was something that was scheduled ahead of time on the calendar.
And if 130 people came last time, it's certainly it seems that there is some interest.
Yes, I was very happy with that turnout.
Okay, Samantha.
Thank you. Hi. I just apologize for any background noise. Want to bring up that a district-wide, we used to call it the STEAM extravaganza or the science extravaganza, was an annual event that used to happen every year pre-COVID, and the turnout was enormous. So be prepared. The sooner you can get us any information for the PTAs to get out, the better. Anybody who remembers this event is going to be expecting it to take over almost all of Woodlands. It used to, it's going to be whatever you guys make it, and it's going to be great. But it's a thing. It's been done, and I'm really glad to have it back.
Yeah, just to touch on that. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I actually had one of the science teachers reach out to kind of bring me up to speed on the extravaganza, which would definitely take a bit more planning time than this event. But again, we welcome, the more the better. But yes, I'm looking forward to that planning as well.
How long should we expect the event to be from a time perspective? And I'm asking because right now we did schedule our community engagement and communications committee meeting. We scheduled it to be right after the STEAM night. So, we kind of have a captive audience for STEAM night. We're going to come and support you. But then we're going to ask, for any folks from the community who want to stay, we're going to do a live community engagement and communications meeting.
So we have it scheduled from 6 to 7:30 p.m.
Okay.
I know last time we gave it an hour and a half. We definitely had people that wanted to hang around a little bit longer.
Gotcha.
So I mean, we can be flexible, and I think that will help your turnout as well. So I think
Right.
it'll be great bouncing off of each other.
Okay. Okay. Anybody else have any questions, comments, thoughts, or suggestions?
So I can just recall from days gone by that it used to be compartmentalized into two pieces. One was sort of the science fair, and so usually out towards the gymnasiums, they would have the kids, start lining up their exhibits. And then as it got bigger than the science fair, the R.J. Bailey kids would fill in the hallways, and there were tables lining the main corridors where they would have their exhibits. And then in addition to that, you had kind of the show part, if you will. So somebody would do the equivalent of a magic act using science, and you'd have all of these different activities and stations that people could go to. And we sort of, took over the entire ground floor of Woodlands. So I assume that the science departments would have to get together to get the half of it that's the fair going again, and then the exhibit stuff is in addition and kind of independent from that.
Right. So I love your enthusiasm. I will tell you that Kelly and I have spoken with Dr. Macaluso, and that is definitely something that teachers are excited to do in the future. They did feel that it was a little bit short notice for all of that, but I will tell you that I have just referencing some exchanges with teachers. Some of them have engineering students or some from science clubs that they will have at the event, which we want to have them at a station. They can kind of showcase what they're doing. It's just not as large as we can do in the future. But certainly that setup, and people can rotate as they want to. So I really think it's an exciting night, and I'm actually bringing my own children because I'm so excited about it. So I think it's a great event.
Good.
Anyone else have any thoughts? Okay, well, thank you very much, Kelly, for your contribution here. You can definitely hang out. I'd be curious your thoughts on some of the AI conversation. But if you got to go, we understand.
Let me ask you a question before you leave. Newsies, the Woodlands musical. I'd heard that there were some difficulties getting the script and everything together. I know it's still posted on the website. Is Newsies still on schedule for March?
I have not heard anything otherwise. But I'm making a note of that.
Okay. So and then I don't know if you have to do any technical support for the art show, or if that's pretty much done by the music department and the art department. We have
Anything?
art show at the Greenburgh Town Hall. So right, we're lined up with the science thing this time, and then further down the line we have an annual art show at the Greenburgh Town Hall, and a bunch of people come in, and the kids show things off, and we video everybody, and sometimes there are live performances of music and all of that. So I don't know if we need technical support for it or not, but beware, that's coming too.
Oh, no, 100%. I know last year we had some technical support to ensure that everything, went off without a hitch. So anything that you need our support in, absolutely always reach out. I'm actually always in constant communication with Luke, making sure that we're up to date and have the support, but by all means, reach out to me.
Okay.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Kelly. We definitely appreciate it.
Thank you.
And with an addition to the agenda that I did not put on before, we have Mr. Terrence Jackson giving some updates on what's going on at the local community center. Mr. Jackson.
How are you?
Wonderfully well. And yourself?
All right. So I tell you, in talking to Jamal, we had a couple things going, and he asked me to do this, and it's every day for me, so I have to really think about some of the things. But what's interesting, as soon as I do, it winds up being pretty easy. And as I hear you all going back and doing what we had to do, kind of restart some things and some programs from COVID. But I'll let you know what was very interesting. the Theodore Young Center became a major resource for not only the town, but the county. We went out in March, Friday, March 13th, like most everybody, but we came back in May. And one of the major needs was children of essential workers. Those kids where both parents, if there were two parents in the home, were essential workers and they had to go to work and they couldn't go anywhere else. And they needed to have a safe space to do their homework online and have assistance and all. We wound up having 65 kids from like the second week in May all the way through, all the way through until the schools really came back online fully. Let alone that, food distributions. We normally have our nutrition program through the county, which is normally ours is an in-person program, which stopped for a time. And that was about 50 people a day, Monday through Friday. We changed that and grew that for a long period of time, up to about 200. And we also had a major food distribution of groceries and all. So I say all that to say, and there's much more, that the center is what it needs to be when it needs to be. And right now, what we are witnessing is, and it came pretty quick. Last year, 2001, it actually really started, and definitely 2002. And now it's at full capacity. Everybody was ready to go back outside, especially the parents sending the kids. Get them out of here and get them doing something. So with all of our programs, we are at a 97% occupancy rate.
Wow.
We have great programs that are going on. We started, one of our newest programs is aqua cycling. It is basically a bicycle that is put into the water and you're using the water resistance to create the class. But it's not just, you're riding a bike. You are getting up on the bike. You're doing push-ups on the handlebars while you're riding the bike and all, and the water commenced with it. So that's a new program that we brought in, as well as just so many different programs. We have from ages 5 to 105. And yes, we have a 105-year-old that is in our bridge program every Wednesday. And during Ida, we had 12 inches of mud inside our entire first floor. The stream that is behind us and the building that was going next to us for the senior center all over flooded and came into the building. And the water was one thing, but the mud was worse. We had to totally redo our gym and clean the whole area and all that. But we're able to do it pretty quickly and get things back going. But in that, our elevator went down. This 105-year-old was still coming, and although she needed help going up the stairs, she was going up the stairs because that's where her class was, and running this program. So we're a place for everybody that has I can't say everything, but most things. But one of the things we're also doing is trying to revamp anything that seems like it's getting old and stale. But beyond that, we're also looking for where that place for other opportunities. I'm working with Johan right now on he's heavily involved with a repair cafe. You've got a toaster, you've got a this, that, and the other that isn't too big, but that isn't working at the moment, but you think can be fixed. Bring it to this repair cafe and it'll be fixed for free. There are people that are going to be there to help you work with it and get it working so that you don't have to go buy a new one or something like that. But whether that actually works, they fix it or not, the community effort in trying to do so, and the other things that will be there, and just that community involvement. That's the thing I'm most happy to see after something like COVID that we're getting back to. And yeah, we just keep going from there. So ask me anything specific if I didn't get to it in that. But I tell you, there's just so much, it's hard to encompass in one thing. One thing I will say, for the last number of years, but we didn't do it last year. We were very busy and we decided we're going to do it every other year. We do a year in review. So from 2017 until 2023, you can find on the town website under community resources a year in review. And that is a great way to look at some of the things, major things that were highlighted as to what happens. But then if you were to get the town brochure that goes out, and again, look at Department of Community Resources, you will see all the many offerings that we have and when they are and when registration for it. We just had registration the other day open up for the pool, and we were swamped, and it opened up for the residents. We opened up to residents first and then non-residents to make it somewhat fair and proper. But we are being used by all stages and ages of life, and it's a great thing to see again.
All right. Thank you for that. We definitely love it. Does anybody have any questions, comments related to what's going on at the center?
Sure, if you're 97% full, you're not advertising as hard as you could be because there are limits. So, so are there upcoming events that we need to know about?
Well, last night we just had our Black Facts History extravaganza. It's a competition where there are different teams that come in and all, and they win prizes. That was last night. Women's History is coming up, and we will have events for that. The best thing for me to do is send that to you for the different things that are coming up. And I know we do send it to the school who directly, and I know it's a numerous people, but I got to get at least the board on the list as well. But there's always something, some of the biggest things coming up now. We're going to have our spring break. We usually take about 65 kids, first come, first serve, and it fills up fast for the spring break period. We usually do at least 3, if not 4 places that we're going. A museum of some kind, a sports facility of some kind, and then they're playing around in the building for a day or two. We have our college fair coming up in April. We are going to this South Carolina area, 4 schools around there. And the biggest thing we have coming up will be summer is here in the way that we operate. So not only kids that will be coming to summer camp, but staff, and interviews will start happening for those that are interested in getting a job this summer. And the biggest thing is send in your application ASAP so that you can get a interview and definitely get on our program to get a job this summer. We the students help run our summer camp, but at the same time we are teaching them as well. David, my deputy, we handle about the first day. We give them what I call the focus, the drive, what it's going to be about. I like to use acronyms, and last year it was energy as an acronym. Let's see if I can get it right. Every new experience reveals greatness in our youth. Energy. The idea behind it is these young kids are looking at you as an example. So what you do will be transferred on. So get off the phone, be in the spot you're supposed to be, and manage for the little while that you're supposed to. And that trains them for later life as well. So those are some of the things that we definitely have going on.
I like that. I like that. Pamela, did you have a question? Pamela?
Talking. She's talking so we can hear her. If you can mute her, that might help.
Yeah. Oh, okay. All right. Well, anybody else have anything for Terrence? All right, thank you. While we do have you here, I didn't set it up ahead of time, Johan, but you want to speak to anything related to the Fairview Empowerment Group?
Yeah, sure. As of this year, to Terrence's point, we are working with TDYCC to facilitate an event called the Repair Cafe. And essentially we recruit amateur and professional fixers if anybody has any type of acumen with small devices, garments, fixing toys, any experience at all that could lend itself to an overall benefit to those that might be bringing in broken items, we're asking for volunteers. Excuse me. And you could sign up on the Repair Cafe page at feginc.org. We're looking for volunteers for fixes, and we're also looking for participants to bring in broken items, to Terrence's point, small appliances and the like, so that it could be repaired. The whole idea behind the Repair Cafe is to keep as many items out of the landfills as possible. You know, we have a problem with consumerism overall with this modern day society. We have a tendency to throw away something that might be malfunctioning and buying a new one as opposed to repairing it. Right. And that actually lends itself to creating a more sustainable society if we're able to repair more items. I see Corey has his hand up.
Go ahead, Corey.
Yeah. When are you holding this workshop? And can you drop the link in regards to signing up?
Sure. Yeah, the sign up link. I'll post it in the chat. It's going to be on May 18th from 11 to 3, and that's a Saturday. And again, if Jamal, if you don't mind, I could share the communication with you all, and you could distribute it amongst your followers and the like, because we do have a press release and some other social media elements as well that we wouldn't mind accepting assistance to get the word out.
Absolutely. Please share as soon as you guys have that.
Also, which I feel might be of interest to the community, particularly the school community, we're hosting another movie night at the park event at Travis Hill Park. The Friday, the very last Friday in June 28th, which is the week that school closes and the weekend before the 4th of July. So we feel like it might be an opportune time for families to come out and kick off the summer in a really fun way. I believe the movie that we've secured is Across the Spider-Verse. Okay. I'm not certain on that yet. I need to update the website once we get confirmation of that. So
you just set the bar high. You can't go back now, man.
Right. Don't put that out there and then pull it away. That's not going to work.
I'm almost certain, but I'll get confirmation and I'll update the website. But we do have it on our webpage as a what do you call it? A placeholder. We want you to save that date. We're going to have a good time anyway. We're going to have free popcorn for probably about the first 100 guests. Excuse me. About the first 100 guests that show up. So it's going to be a good time and a nice kickoff for the summer. I don't know if anybody here was able to participate last year when we did Encanto, but we had, I want to say, probably around 150 attendees, and it was a lot of fun. And we want to do more of these.
Some people who went. Yeah, I wasn't around, but I heard some folks who went and had a great time. So definitely looking forward to that.
If you haven't been to Travis Park, it's an awesome park, and it's like the perfect facility for an outdoor movie night. So our hope is that we could recruit. I already have an ice cream vendor. Our hope is that we could recruit other food truck vendors. We're not necessarily paying them to participate, but they'll have food for sales and other items. The last time around, we offered the free popcorn, but unfortunately, the park, there was some issues with the power at the park, and we blew out fuses, and we ended up giving out bags of chips instead of the popcorn. But everybody had a good time in any event.
Gotcha. I'm sure it'll work this year.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Samantha.
Thank you. I have two questions. Mr. Snacks, do you have the email address for Greenburgh PTA Council so we can help share the news and get the word out to our families?
I do not, but I would greatly appreciate it.
I will put that in the chat, and I think I can find you online to send it to you as well. And my other question is whether do we have an update on the Greenburgh Farmers Market that was on Manhattan Avenue last summer? Do you know the status of that come spring?
We're not affiliated with the farmers market, but food justice is one of our pillars, and we're hoping to create kind of a sustainable source. I believe the farmers market was It was labeled a farmer's market, but it was almost what's the appropriate term for it?
A bit of a maker's fair.
There were other vendors in the tech.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
So it was a little bit of a
I know
and
that I actually
go ahead. Go ahead, Jamal.
no, finish your thought. Finish your thought.
Our effort is going to be a pure food justice initiative. So we're looking at farm sharing and a food co-op as a possible enhancement to other attributes that might be offered via other avenues within the town.
Sure. Great.
I do know that the Samantha, that I spoke last weekend to Kobe, so they are planning on coming back for sure, and thinking about whether that's the proper place or whether it would be someplace else. So we're going to be having some talks, but they're definitely looking to come back.
Sure. Great. Thank you. We try to keep the word out about food justice to our families as well. Greenburgh Farmers Market does have a food share, and it's SNAP eligible. So we tried to elevate that in the fall. If they're coming back in the spring, we will do again. And I think you and I will be in touch, Mr. Seggs, as much as we can elevate food justice. And it sounds like you've got some great initiatives, and anytime the kids can get out and watch a movie. So I look forward to being in touch.
That. All right. So for Corey and for everybody else, I posted a link for the Repair Cafe. If you're interested, sign up if you wouldn't mind sharing it as well. And Samantha, once you send out the email address for the communication the PTA group, I'll be happy to send communication out as well.
Okay. Well, for the moment, I'm sure you all have been waiting for. You guys know how much I am enthralled with the AI space, and it's something that with related to the community. I think that it's a conversation that we got to start having, and this will be the beginning of it, but most certainly won't be the last. These tools are changing everything about our society, and it's doing it faster than any other technology has ever done. Right now, you know what I mean? People just see ChatGPT, I write a little bit, but there's a lot more to it. And so I want to go through a couple things tonight. And in addition to that, answer some questions and see if we can kind of spark some ideas on how the tools might help to further connect the community. So to get started, I decided to pull up a video of one of my favorite things that I've seen AI do, and then I'll speak to why I like this so much.
I'm not getting a volume if there is one.
Oh. It's they're not saying anything. But there is music, but yeah, I'll just let it play.
Okay.
Okay, so a couple reasons why I like that so much. First one is that it's like it's creativity. Like it was incredible. I thought human creativity. Somebody put in a prompt for this video tool where essentially all they said was, "Hey, what would it look like to have what would it look like to have selfies?" From throughout history, and then all of those were put together, generated specifically by AI, not by any human, just from that prompt. So that type of creativity, is going to lead to a bunch of things new. The other reason I like about it is just the idea of history. And if we think about any of those groups of people, if we were to take any of them and put them in the world that we live in today, they would lose their ever-loving minds. They would not be able to understand, what is happening. The cars moving so fast. They literally, I mean, it would be too much going on for them to be able to wrap their minds around. And that's what I think is starting to happen in the artificial intelligence space. And so I tell people all the time, I am both fascinated and terrified by the power of these tools. I think that there's incredible opportunity in the education space, which is what I care the most about. But in community development, which is why we are talking about this here. So just giving folks a really quick understanding about what generative AI is, what large language models are, what machine learning are, what some of the small differences are. So if you think about of artificial intelligence in general, it's something that's been a part of a lot of different tools that we use for a very long time, but in a more simplified fashion. So if you think about things like Netflix and the fact that they give you watch a movie, they say, okay, if you like this movie, then you probably like this movie. All of us have our phones, and we got Siri and Alexa, and you talk to them and they make a list for you, and a lot of these simple things that at this point we take for granted. They were wonderful when they first got it. Now we kind of take some of them for granted now that some of these additional tools happen. What ChatGPT and these other ones are called, they're generative AI, but they're large language models. So they pull upon pretty much the entirety of the internet, all the encyclopedias, just about all the information that mankind has ever made, they have access to, and they pull from that information to give people answers. Machine learning, a lot of that is when the machines actually start to learn themselves, and that's where things start to get a little bit spooky. And I don't want to like scare anybody on it, but there is a chance of some of these things going out of control, which is one of the reasons that I mostly want to keep introducing as many people as possible to this, because if it's not going to, like, we have to be the arbiters of where this thing goes or where it does not go. And I'm not sure most people are paying enough attention to be able to be arbiters of that. So I'm gonna stop, see if anybody has any questions so far before I go on to some of the tools that are currently available.
I have to confess that I'm moving from a point of view that was based on what was science fiction when I was young in the 80s to science fact. And the old model, I don't know if you're familiar with, like the sort of the iRobot, Isaac Asimov view of things, where everybody was scared of artificial intelligence so much that 3 rules of no harming humans and all that stuff would be embedded in every cybernetic brain, and people would stay on top because the machines had to obey orders and And so it's like, okay, that's the model of how it's going to be. And you'd watch the evolution of the machines getting smarter and smarter than us, but they were like servants to mankind. Then you got into sort of the cyberpunk era of science fiction, in which you said, okay, the machines aren't going to outdo us because 2 things are going to happen. One, you're going to end up 100 years from now, if your kid doesn't have to worry about a calculator, because we'll staple a chip onto the side of his head, and he'll just be able to do math. Okay, things like that. Okay, and then there'd be these 2 competing factions. We'd be genetically altered, and we'd also be enhanced by becoming like cyborgs, by having machines closer and closer to interacting with us. And as a result of that, humanity would not be left in the dust by ever increasingly smarter robots. And there would be a future in which, the world didn't kind of come to a catastrophic end. You wouldn't have all these Arnold Schwarzenegger robots come and try and kill us. Okay.
Yep.
So now what the reality appears to be, that all of these efforts of control and competition are just that, science fiction. Then the reality seems to be that everybody tries to outcompete everybody else and generate new technology, and there's almost no control. So I know ChatGPT a year ago looked really crazy, and so the big corporations kind of tamped down on it and made it a little more boring by saying on certain topics we will not respond to you. But the potential is there. The genie's kind of out of the bottle. So
Yeah.
what do you think is going to happen in the next 5 years as a result of all of this? You think the craziness is going to resurface, or are going to think it's going to get more and more controlled?
So, I mean, if I can answer that question, then I would be a lot wealthier than I currently am. But what I will, offer, is that a lot of I don't think that a lot of the dystopian things are completely, kind of out of the of the picture. I do think that there are a lot of really, really, really smart people who are working diligently in a way to try to prevent, as much of those dystopian things as possible. But some of these things that are clear already are there's job losses already in terms of like white collar jobs and things to that effect. So how does that impact our community with like our generally when these types of things happen, it's that there's oftentimes technology has meant that there's a net job plus impact, but that's like a global net job positive. That doesn't, for the people who lose their jobs, that doesn't feel good to them. So, talking through, thinking about what that's going to look like, making sure that we're upskilling people. I just saw that in the Philippines, everybody who's over 40 is about no, Singapore, I'm sorry. Everybody who's over 40 is about to start to get government funding to be able to go back to school, and they're going to put them in schools with the young people to start to have kind of intergenerational conversations where the older folks will come, they'll bring their wisdom of the workplace and things to that effect, but then they're going to learn some of these tools and examine together what exactly is the most likely scenarios that are going to occur. And I see your hand, Corey, but the last thing I'll say, David, just related to people connecting to the machines and stuff. That's scary stuff, like those are very, very, very scary things. But I think 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, something like that, Elon Musk has the first his Neuralink product where where it is connected into somebody's brain and helping them with I forgot what the challenge that person has and what it solved for them. But initially it's going to be okay. It can help somebody walk that didn't walk before. It can help somebody think that couldn't think of certain thought process before. But now, in people after that are going to start looking at, okay, how does it make all of these people smarter? And so you'll have haves and have nots. It's going to be a whole bunch of money, like everybody can't do it, so it's going to exacerbate some of the problems that we already have in society. So it's fascinated and terrified is where I stand. Go ahead, Corey.
I think so my name is Corey Stedman. I'm White Plains resident, but White Plains people are always in Greenburgh. My daughter goes to the center. So Jamal and I, we've had this conversation before, a very interesting conversation. And just to give a little bit of insight into the potential future of AI, there is an anime that I suggest everyone watch, at least the movie, and it's called Ghost in the Shell. And essentially, in this world, AI and cyborg humans is very normalized. And I believe that AI is not going to be as threatening as many people imagine. However, we should be precautious, or we should be cautious in that the military aspect of AI is definitely going to be um, utilized. And in this show, it was primarily used from the angle of the military, where they're using it for all sorts of different things. They created sentient robots
Corey,
and the like. What's up?
So I don't want to go too far into details
Okay, no
of
problem.
some of those parts. I want to try to focus as much as we can on just like the community impact, but the vision of some of the stuff that you're explaining can help to bring us to where we are today, and as we think about those possibilities. So I just
Well,
want
I
to.
mean, okay, no problem. Well, ultimately, I mean, there is a caution in regards to the military aspect, but in regards to the community aspect, I think in this present moment in time, that it's very important that every child understands this technology and not just about spitting out an essay for themselves, right? But more so utilizing it or leveraging it to enhance their ideas. If you have an idea about something, you parse it through Gemini or you parse it through ChatGPT, or you use a federation, which is when you use multiple AIs to delegate tasks to one another and to for a specific outcome. And so I think that's very important. And I've been speaking to someone who was part of a siloed AI project where they're creating individual AIs for people for a subscription. And this is something that they had envisioned where you create these federated AIs where they can
Right.
talk to each other. And so I think ultimately it is something that we have to embrace as soon as possible, because if we don't, it will be too late. And too late meaning the next 2 years, because stuff is rapidly
Yeah.
evolving.
Yeah.
I like
You want. Go ahead, Yon.
what you mentioned before about Singapore. I think, that intergenerational learning would be key for the future. AI and ChatGPT and the language behind it is it's a language in and of itself, right? Coding is a language in and of itself. And we know that it's easier for children to learn new languages as they're actually forming, as they're developing, as they're learning the core language that they have. So I think coding will probably come about as a second language. And from an educational perspective, we really need to focus on how we could put those tools into younger kids' hands so that as they develop, they'll be ready for what society is going to evolve into. It's a really, I think it's a novel idea to get older folks re-registered into school to take advantage of the new technology that will become available as a result of AI and machine learning.
Right.
So as much as we could include that, I was really excited to see that we have the STEAM event for kids to garner interest in the sciences overall, so that we could set them on the right path and they could participate in this new ecosystem that we find ourselves in.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see, how many of the young people, any of them that I, work with, do story time where, you put in ChatGPT, some prompts about, you give them some names, you give them some, this kid likes dolphins, and you can take some of those prompts and then move it to runway, or move it to, there's another tool I use that's not coming to me that I didn't put on here, but it put a whole story together for my niece and for my nephew, and they're just sitting there, eyes, kind of wide open. And I don't consider myself a expert in the space. I think I'm a really good prompt engineer, probably 80th percentile or something. But I've been connected with some people who they are borderline wizards. Like the things that they are capable of doing with the tool. They work with it all day, every day. I work with it a lot, but they have come to learn like a communication strategy, where they're constantly learning, from the tool. Somebody said to me the other day that it's the best learning tutor that they've ever had, and it's not even close, because they were somebody who in school, like they didn't want to raise their hand because they didn't want to sound dumb or anything to that effect. You're not going to sound dumb, to Chat GPT. And so these things that you're curious about that you may think are novel, or you may, it can offer you answers to those things, and you can develop the ability to develop critical thinking as a result of the way that you continue to communicate and ask and get better. Like the better you put in, the better you get out. What's going on, Terrence?
This is all pretty amazing to me. In college, my probably sophomore, junior year is when the first Mac came out. Not to date myself, right, David? But that's when the first Mac came out. And I was in commercial art and design. So I originally learned with my hands and doing things there. And I grew up with Legos, not the ones that automatically make something, and that's all they do. It was just a bunch of blocks and you do it yourself.
Right.
But with that college experience, I believe I have grown to be one of and also a major judo player. And the whole thing about judo is balance in life. And I would never want us to go any much further one way or the other. It needs to be a. How many times when a student has a question about something, can they quickly ask Siri, which is a phenomenal tool, right? But we all of our age also know the brilliance of figuring it out on your own. When you see that aha moment in a child when they've struggled for a minute to figure it out and then get it. And that's not just children, that's everybody. So in that time frame where I was drawing and redrawing things because I made a mistake and you had to start over, there was nothing else to it, where now on a computer I learned it both. And I'm a little bit of an Excel guy. I know how to work all that and all. So I really see that balance in it. But at the same point, I'm one that wants to go out and build something with my hands. I say to others, that are so much more advanced than me, I was like, that's great. And I always want you around until the lights go off. Until the power's cut, and then what you're gonna do. But I am all for it, and I want to go forward. I want to be careful, as it sounds you are being, Jamal. And yes, we cannot be blind to it. We should not be afraid of it. We do have to be cautious, but there's something to be said about us figuring it all out in our just and due time.
Absolutely. Go ahead, David.
So I'm gonna shift gears to resistance here. So I will tell you, first of all, that my wife is from the same, has gone through the same process of knowing how to do things. She was a financial analyst. We're old retired people now, but she knew how to do things by hand and figure out what was going on and what made sense in her head. By doing her own independent thinking. And then the next generation after her came along, and the people who came out of college later had a whole bunch of financial tools, and they were very proud of their ability to use the tools. And if you asked them what they were trying to do, they would explain to you in great depth and detail the process they'd go through to get whatever answers they had, and were very proud of their tool knowledge. But she would then go back and say, yes, but the answers coming from this tool do not make sense. And the fact that she was accustomed to doing it by hand meant that, in her head, that meant that she could estimate things and see what was reasonable and what was not reasonable. And it's as easy with a machine tool for it to be way off in the distance, completely wrong, as it is for it to be slightly off. So the skill that needs to be retained is, in addition to being able to manipulate all these wonderful new tools, is you have to retain some form of common sense, some kind of method of estimating things, and having sort of rules of thumb that allow you to know whether what's coming out of the machine makes any sense or not. and we need to not
100%.
lose that. Now,
100%.
yes. So now I'm looking and saying, you know, what's happening in our school right now is, in addition to this technological wonderful tool for learning that's coming out, there's also this thing about social media, and social media is a tremendous distraction. So what's happening in our high school mostly is we're saying, hey, stop using your cell phone and learn what you need to learn, and then go plug back into the social web, you know, after school or before school, but not while you're busy learning stuff. And so we try and, you know, we try and give you our computers with our network that only has access to our stuff, to try and focus you and not be so worried about your social profile that you can't concentrate on learning. And I'm thinking that the new tools are going to be viewed as a distraction and a crutch and something that to be resisted. So what I'm expecting to happen is initially we'll go in, and the teachers who are familiar with doing things by hand are going to come back and go, no, keep it away. And what will happen simultaneously is that at an adult level, these tools will creep in, and we'll start to use them in business functions. Like, let's say you started, I think the PTA council started doing their meeting minutes using an AI to go and parse through the video footage, and it would crank out the minutes of what their meeting looked like. So if say the CEC did the same thing, say, you know, different parts of the administration started using these tools this way and that way, it's going to start to trickle down into what the teachers do. And when they start to do things and use these tools themselves, then they'll lose their fear, and then we'll start moving to a point at which we will integrate the new tools into how we do our learning. And then about 5 to 10 years down the line, the state will catch up with that. So Woodland's always kind of, you know, we tend to go out and do things before other people, and that's what a small player should do. You should be edgy and do things the other guy doesn't do and stay ahead of the curve. So it's like, okay, so how do we migrate our school towards use of technology in such a way that it helps the kids, allows them to compete in society, and still doesn't cause them to lose their common sense? That's
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you framed it extremely well. All of those things are, you know, 100% concerns. I think that the biggest challenge right now is that and you know, maybe this is not so much in, you know, in Woodlands, you know, but it's in there for sure. There's lots of young people who just, they don't understand their space in the world, and so they're not connecting to school the way that it is today. And they've grown up in such a different time. They've grown up with information that has come at them at a whole different pace, and we're putting them in a place where we're saying, hey, slow down, slow down, slow down, slow down, and they're like, no, sorry, not going to do it. And they keep going back to their phones, and they keep going back to their devices, and we just keep beating our heads. No, we're going to do it the way we said to do it because we said to do it. And they're like, no, sorry, we're not going to do that. And I just think that is going to continue to stretch out, and it's going to continue to exacerbate the problems of teachers saying, okay, I'm out of here. I've talked to 3 teachers this week, and a principal that are just like, yeah, this might be it for me. So in terms of the system writ large, it's fracturing. And fortunately, you know, Woodlands is not fracturing, but you know, it's we're going to have to keep up with some of the places that break, and then somebody puts it back together, you know, with these tools. And so this conversation is we're going to have this a whole bunch to discover what the best ways are to adjust pedagogy and move toward hudagogy and you know, kind of self-directed learning. So that it's a big combo. So I love how you frame things. Johan, you had your hand up first.
Yeah, I was going to say, to comment on some of David's comments. Social media is really a tool that could be leveraged for education. I've learned more about, you know, social equity and finance since the emergence of social media than I did in school, and I have my MBA from just a few years ago. So if we're able to leverage it in a way that the kids could continue to participate, the way they're accustomed to with social media and feed them the information through a resource such as that, I think we're winning. And then there's some elements of when you study history, all of these inventors that emerged that never had formal training because they were brilliant in different ways. And they didn't do well in school. They were probably discouraged from getting a formal education because they didn't learn via the conventional way. We're learning so much about the neurodivergence and the spectrum of learning. And I feel that AI could help close that gap so that nobody will be left behind moving forward. If you learn a little bit differently, there's a coaching tool, to your point, Jamal, about being able to get the right prompts to get the information that you need and how that's being fed to the student overall. So we really need to tap in. And I feel like there probably should be a curriculum that's specific to how to leverage AI in a way that teachers could evolve with the new students, so that they can help them to take advantage of all of the tool and advantages that will come with AI as well.
And those things exist, and I think I'll probably show, like, I don't. This might happen more at the Education and Wellness Committee. You know what I mean? We could talk to Dr. Macaluso and see if there's something, and Kiana, see if there's something that they want to add in. But school tools like Magic School and School AI, they're doing some of these things already.
Cool.
Kelly?
Sorry. I forgot to unmute. There's so many things I want to tap on with this, but I'm not to avoid being on here all night. I'm going to focus on just one comment that sort of stood out. Well, there's a few, but the resistance that David was talking about, and I'm going to touch it on from the educator point of view, because the truth of the matter is we are pretty much already behind the game when it comes to AI, right? It's constantly evolving and changing. And teachers, there's definitely a lot of resistance. I can speak for myself as well with educators, not just with AI, but also with technology in general, right? And I think part of that comes with fear. And I think people have to understand that, teachers are expected to know more than a child. And I remember someone said the reason teachers tend to be kind of like dinosaurs when it comes is because they're afraid to let the children know that they actually know more than we do. And as a result, they'll be resistant to it because they're like, I don't know it myself. So I don't know really what the children are doing. I don't know what's right about it, what's wrong about it. A lot of times it's like educators don't have the chance to play with it. I mean, one of the benefits that happened with COVID was that it forced a lot of educators to have to become, acclimated with technology because teachers were forced to go online. I mean, I think we remember when we first went into, when we first got on lockdown, a lot of schools, you didn't even have remote learning. That was unheard of. The technology was always there. It was then all of a sudden, like, we've had this technology all this time, but teachers didn't know how to use it. They were resistant against it. They didn't want to use it, but they were forced to, right? And then as a result, as you started playing with it more, teachers became better with it. And then as time kept going on, you started seeing like more innovative ideas coming from it. And I think it's the same thing with AI. I think it's something where like teachers have to have not just training, but to have the opportunity to really explore it and see for themselves that it's a safe space that they could kind of learn from. Because I'm telling you, that fear of not knowing what a child knows really tends to cause a lot of resistance.
Yeah, so I mean, two things. One, I'm trying to, keep the, Greenburgh and not my, broader, thoughts on education, just because when the pandemic happened in maybe the second or third week, I thought we should just stop all of it. Like, don't try to just do regular school online. It's not going to work. And it didn't. Like, I thought that if we go back to school and it looks the same way it did when we left, then shame on us. And largely, and I'm not saying us as Greenburgh, but the school system at large, largely we didn't make like revolutionary type changes when we could have talked to kids while they were at home in their own environment, and it was an opportunity. And I think that largely it was squandered. This is another opportunity in that, to your point, the teachers don't necessarily understand what's going on. The students don't necessarily understand what's going on. Administration doesn't get it. So how about we all learn together? How about we all, like take a different approach to learning these tools? We do it together. I think students who look up at somebody learning something, you can learn how to learn because now you're watching somebody else actually do it. And it humbles the teacher just a little bit because maybe the young person picks it up a little bit more, and the young person is teaching the teacher something. I think it can do a whole lot, even in the kind of just the social and emotional relationship of what goes on inside of a school building. So that's a part of this that I'm excited to see happen, and I've watched some of it already, and looking forward to seeing more. Go ahead, Corey.
Yeah, to go back to Kelly's point and the previous speaker as well, in regards to the resistance, I feel like social media probably took everyone by surprise how it, where kids adopting it so fast, and then adults really trying to scramble to really understand and really get a handle on how kids were using it. And I feel like with AI, it's going to be that times 10 in like the next year or so. And the reason why I give it such a short um, time horizon is that the video that you showed at the beginning, I mean, listen, maybe like 2, 3 years ago, it would have been like, wow, that was done in AI.
And that was 9 months. That was 9 months ago. So
And
that
now
wasn't
it's
even Soro and some of the other stuff that's out now.
exactly. Now, I mean, there's Sora, which looks essentially, for all intents and purposes, photorealistic. And so when it comes to using AI for homework or ideas, that's one aspect. But then the other aspect is how do we discern from reality and generated video or generated audio, right? Where there's instances of people getting scammed over their cell phone because they got a call from a scammer and said, "Hey, your daughter, hey, mommy, I'm in a van and they don't want to give them $2,500 and they'll release me," and
Right.
so there's all these different instances now where AI is obviously we can use it for it's a tool, so you can use it for good things, but then there are the nefarious uses as well. So
Right.
essentially what I'm getting at is how do we or what I'm getting at is that we should teach or we should embrace this technology so that we're not caught unawares when it hits into high gear because it's not in high gear right now at all.
But it's
You know,
it's get it's getting there, and you had the recently with there was a robocall up in, I want to
yeah, New
say,
Hampshire
Iowa or New Hampshire,
of
and
Joe
of
Biden.
Biden telling people not to come out and vote. And so that was one of the first instances that we saw of that. You can expect to see more. And if
Hmm.
we're not telling the elders all the way down to the young people that these type of things are available. They can clone your voice. They can
Yep.
clone your likeness. Digital literacy from the perspective of what you do put in and what you don't put in. Like these are all things that at the end of the day, it would be irresponsible for us not to help to the young people and the community at large to navigate these extremely powerful tools.
Yeah. So I mean,
Um,
it's essentially what I'm getting at is that we should not let AI take us unawares or take us by surprise like social media did. And the time horizon for that is going to be so much shorter. Probably by the end of this year, by November, we're going to see some crazy stuff
yeah,
happening and
yeah.
disseminated over social media.
Yeah, one of the ways to think about it is that people say that artificial intelligence right now, ChatGPT, it's like a toddler. So it's a very powerful toddler, but it's not an adult. It's not even in its teenage years yet. Like it was 1 years old. It's I guess 18 months old or something like that now. And so but it's not dog years. I mean, it's operating. It's speeding up and speeding up, and we're going to see that happen. To Corey's point, shorter than many of us think. I'm not going to go too deep into the other tools. The presentation is not as important as kicking off the conversation. I'm curious if anybody else has any questions, any thoughts, anything that they want to share, and particularly things that we feel like can best allow for the community to start to at least just open their ears a little bit and think along the lines of we got to think about the bad stuff, but also how can this bring the community together more? How can these tools be things that maybe Greenburgh is a we do it first, and we do it so well that it makes people say, hey, you know what, I'm moving to Greenburgh, and we increase the tax base and all that good stuff. Go ahead, Samantha.
Oh, I have so many thoughts. I'm so glad you're having this discussion. I'm going to come at it from a slightly different perspective, and this is me and my training and my background and my professional world. And I'm going to say that we have this amazing tool and we have this fearsome thing hanging over our heads, and we got to harness it. We got to use it. We got to train our kids. But the best way, I think, that we are going to harness it is to differentiate it from us. And so the community organizer and the ethicist and the artist in me wants to say that what we're doing as a community we are out front with SEL, we are out front with restorative justice, we are out front with DEI. Those are what we call soft skills, and those are community building, and those are sitting in a room talking around a circle, and that is going to solidify our community so that when you talk about something like a safe word, I have a safe word with my mom. I've got stuff out in the world. My voice is recorded all over the place. My mom knows if it gets manipulated somehow, I have to have a safe word or that's not me on the phone. This is the world we live in, right? But I also don't talk to my mom on Facebook. I make it a point, and this is relatively recent. We were all Facebooky for a long time, but these days, I feel it hanging over our heads all the time. So I'm making a concerted personal and professional effort to be as face-to-face, as community grounded as I can. And I see Greenburgh doing that work. And I feel like the more we lean into it, the more we can also counterintuitively lean into these crazy AI tools, because we know the difference. We know what's real, and we've got each other's back. So I come at it from a slightly different way, and I don't want to be online till midnight, but I could. So thank you for having this conversation.
No, thank you. That was I don't have a safe word. I'm gonna get me a safe word.
Safe word.
But it's the number of things that there are to think about is astronomical, and I know that sometimes when that happens, it's just like, okay, I don't know, but none of us need any more things to think about, but it's not going to go away if we don't think about it. And so coming up with some method with which to connect and communicate, I think is key. I don't want to put you on the spot, Kelly, but if I would love to hear if you have anything. And I know you can't you can speak for yourself. You're not speaking for the district or anything, but you're part of the school community, and would just love to hear if there's anything thoughts you have on how we might be approaching this from an education perspective.
I mean, we would need to have more technology classes. That's the first I would think. That should be almost like a core class at this point. I think children need to know more than just what it is, like get into programming, get into being behind the scenes sometimes and elevating in that perspective. I mean, that's ideal. And finding teachers that can teach that would be the ideal part, So, but I think the way technology is moving, I mean, technology needs to be one of those subjects that needs to become like a core at this point.
Right. So thank you for that, Kelly, because I think I was talking for the other Kelly, but what you just said frames things a little bit for for Kelly Medina.
Okay. I was thinking that Kelly was saving me by speaking on. I have the same sentiments. I think you put it perfectly when you said not this exact wording, but it's exciting and also terrifying. I think that to speak to what Kelly is saying, that the first line is really bringing awareness and including staff and teachers so that there isn't such a large amount of unknown. We kind of chatted about that briefly previously. That I think that's how you bring people on board, is by including them, hearing their concerns, and really having that conversation and then educating them as well as the students. Because I do think AI does have a place. I do think that it can be a real asset to students, but it has to be used correctly. And I think that starts with conversation, training, ongoing support. And I think that Samantha mentioned, it is very scary that, you hear more and more of people that were manipulated and scammed into things as a result. So again, awareness. So proceed with caution.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Go ahead, David.
Okay, so there's going to be a set of products that are going to allow you to create great fakes. And then there will be a set of AI products that will allow you to detect deep fakes. And there will be an ongoing arms race. I can't detect this fake. Can my AI detect this fake, right? And so that will kind of come up, and that'll generate a whole market, if you will, of things that detect fakes. And people will walk around with their piece of smoked glass, looking through it to see if, are you really real, right? So that's all going to happen. But yes, the answer is training. So it's going to be classes for kids. It's going to be training for teachers, and it's going to be use of technology in small ways, but ramp it up as quickly as possible. I don't know if we need to work on a policy for this, or I think we should just let it. I think we should do it programmatically instead of trying to get involved in a set of rules at the board level.
Yeah.
Just infuse it into the school, and then we'll play catch up and do the rules afterwards.
So from a policy perspective, I've asked 25 principals, something like that, whether or not, they have a policy for, artificial intelligence. The overwhelming majority do not, as of yet, but some do. There's school districts that do have written policies, and there's lots of organizations out there that exclusively, what they do is kind of communicate the power of these tools in the education space. So I think some of that detail stuff probably is going to be more appropriate for the Education and Wellness Committee. And like I said, I'll probably put something together to share with with Kiana and Dr. Macaluso, and see where they want to fit it in the midst of the remainder of conversations we'll have this year in that regard. But I think yes, there needs to be some policy so that if nothing else, I'm not sure whether we've written something to say, students, you cannot use this for this, but you can use it for this. And the reality is there my daughter's a teacher, so there are kids who hand in work and she's just like, I read your work from last week and the week before that, and now you want me to believe that this is your work? And so it doesn't even occur to them that let me change some words or things to that effect. And so if you don't have a policy, it's very easy for them to just say, well, I'm gonna do whatever it is that I want. And then if you're a teacher and you're using it for lesson planning, which many people are, but they can't use it, it's just like, oh well, why you get? So somebody has to determine perhaps what the process even is to generate that policy. I think the policy to just have the board do it that's not the best way. The ones that I've seen or heard the process of people doing it, they really dig in and they get all stakeholders. They have a conversation with the young people, they have a conversation with the educators, they have a conversation with administration, they bring in parents, and everybody gets to have some input on what that policy is going to be like, because it's going to be one of the most important governing policies that schools have over the coming years.
Okay, so you're pro developing a policy
100%.
like sooner rather than later. Okay.
I am. This is something that I can talk about all night, but to Samantha's point, don't want to. But if there's anybody else has any questions, if there's anything that I can answer for anybody, if you want me to give a quick, illustration of one of the programs that that I've. There's just you can't keep up with with all of them, but I'll let you guys decide how we advance. Is this good?
And thank you very much for the conversation.
Okay, sounds like we're good. Thank you. So on that note, the only thing left that I have, I appreciate all you guys' contributions in that regard. The only thing I have left is like some news, upcoming events. We do want to recognize Mr. Eric Woodbury. He won the Low HUD Player of the Week. So we salute to him. And I do know a lot of folks on Friday will be going over to the county center to support our boys basketball team in the championship game against Alexander Hamilton. So, let's go Falcons. So I will be there on Friday. This will be the first game that I'm seeing of the year, but I'm definitely looking forward to it. I remember, I haven't been to one of the county center games maybe since I was in school. So I'm looking forward to it.
Good. Section 1, championship. Right.
That part.
Yes. Very good.
You have anything else, or any events or anything else you want to share, David, or does anybody?
Nettie, I can see Sam's hand moving. We let her go first. No? Okay. Nettie Jackson Extra Mile Award. We need to prep for that. And so let's see, on our website, and it just went away. Okay, so Nettie Jackson was a tireless worker for decades. Even after she retired from being a school staff member and a union leader, she looked after kids and made sure that the kids got what they needed for about 20 years during her retirement before she finally passed on. And in her honor, we have the Nettie Jackson Extra Mile Award. And so basically what you do is that you look around the community and find people who've gone above and beyond the call of duty for the kids. If they're community members, great. If they're staff members, it better not just be what's in their job description, but they got to go beyond that. And right. This group puts together a committee of judges, and we kind of go and beat the bushes and bring nominations in. And then we have a little battered boot award that we hand out at the June board meeting. So it's time to go after that. So there are 5 people on the judging panel. One is the superintendent, one is a board member. You, as the chair of the CEC, usually go out and find somebody who's not on the CEC to be a member of the committee. They meet once and look at all the nominations, and then you need 3 community members. And you can go back and use past winners, or you can recruit from the community, whoever you want to get in there, and people who will evaluate and vote for that. So we need to recruit those 3 people and then encourage people to make nominations. The nomination forms are available in English and Spanish on the district website. If you want to go take a look at it and all the underlying rules, just go to About Board of Education and then look for the trophy icon at the bottom of the screen, and that's labeled that Nettie Jackson Extra Mile Award. Click that, and there's an online form where you can fill in your nomination. So that's my 2 bits. So we need to look for people who are willing to serve.
All right, perfect. We will make sure to focus in on that at the next meeting. Sam, did you have something? Okay.
I just couldn't get to the buttons I needed to get to.
All right. Well, it's been a pleasure sharing Wednesday evening with you folks. Hope to see some of y'all on Friday. And outside of that, we will see you at the next CEC.
Thank you. Have a good
Thank
night.
you.